Good evening, everyone, and thank you for watching the Barre Beat podcast live, Main Street, Barre, Vermont, right here in the Inside Scoop Studios, filming live from the Inside Scoop Studios. With us, we have the ever lovely Raylene.
Thanks, Michael.
And of course, we have Nicolas Storellicastro, City Manager. Is this the first time you've been on Barre Beat?
No, I was on Barre Beat for the
so.
budget.
I thought so.
But
like
back then I was contractually obligated to talk to you.
Contractually obligated to talk to me.
Not anymore.
Which you're no longer contractually obligated.
No.
Don't worry, I haven't forgotten that comment.
We all know that you twisted his arm, though.
We appreciate you coming down
That's
here.
good to see you.
I'm super excited about what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the possibility of having a new DPW building. And I just remember the conversation where it started, which was $30 million.
Yes.
That's where it was. So why don't you tell us what this, and I'll let you start it off.
So we are, the council tomorrow night is going to consider and I believe approve a purchase and sale agreement to acquire the building at 277 Morrison Road. That is the O'Reilly warehouse right off of Upper Prospect. It's located right outside the city lines. It's technically in Barre Town. And we have an agreement to purchase the building for $3 million. We have to do, right now it's a warehouse, and so we have to do some modifications to turn it into a functioning public works garage. So we estimate $2 million to do that, and that's for things like 2 overhead doors, for ramps, to build access into the mechanics bay. We have to move our salt bunker up there. We have to build some drainage inside the building, right? So when the plows come in with the snow and they lay the plows down in the building, that's water has to melt and go somewhere, right? So we can be all in $5 million solving a problem that was estimated to cost $30 million. This warehouse is impeccable condition. It was built in 1987. It's about 58,000 square feet. Just unbelievable condition interior, fully modern. It's got sprinklers, fire alarms, you name it, right? Everything that you expect a modern building to have. It has office space that we can touch up. I mean, the office space is in pretty good shape. Just needs some cosmetic stuff. And we can move the entire public works department up there. So we're thrilled. You know, this site here on Burnham Street, I couldn't get the exact year of when it was started to be used as a public works garage. It's at least 1950, possibly before then. To say that it's in bad condition is understatement of the year, of the century, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the building is in really poor condition. We spend 500 gallons of fuel per week to heat it because it's got holes. I'm not saying it's drafty. There's holes in the building. It doesn't have sprinklers. It doesn't have fire smoke alarms. It doesn't have an adequate vehicle exhaust system. For people who work in garages, you know this. It doesn't have anti-slip floors. The mechanics bays are sort of jimmy rigged. The main garage is 13,000 square feet, which means that when we drive the plow trucks in there, the guys have like a specific order of where everything goes. Otherwise, things don't fit in the garage. We actually can't park the plows in the garage because the trucks with the plows don't fit. The plows by themselves fit, not with the plows attached. So the plows have to sit outside in the elements. We're storing really expensive stuff outside that most other places store inside. It's not ADA accessible. I could go on and on, but really, this is a really generational opportunity to solve this problem that's been dogging us, that we've known about for a long time.
So let me just stop you there for a minute and show folks what we're actually talking about. I do have some drone footage of the current DPW building during the flood.
Yeah.
Because what people may not know, which I'm sure most people do, is that the DPW is in the flood zone. So it gets flooded. And I'm just gonna go through, and you can see the mud all built up, and it went into the building.
Yep.
You can see one of the buildings is missing the roof. The other part of the building is got shingles coming off. It's definitely a huge. It's not a good situation. We've got just showing more pictures of it. It's just not good. We need a facility that's not going to flood, and we need a facility that's in
Yeah.
tip-top shape.
Absolutely, Michael. And I would say that, there's a human element. We have our public works employees do, some of the hardest jobs that anyone for the city does, and they do it under some of the hardest, most difficult conditions. These are the guys who are digging up water breaks at 2 a.m. in the winter, knee deep in water, you name it, right? These are really difficult jobs. They deserve better than that garage they have now. If you happen to not care about our public works employees, which I don't know why you wouldn't, they do really important work. Think about, we have $5 million worth of equipment parked in there. There's no sprinklers. If there's a fire, the structure is in poor shape. If there's a collapse, we're looking at, putting $5 million worth of equipment in danger, right? And this is stuff we need, right? These are our plow trucks. These are loaders. These are bobcats, right? This is equipment that we use every day. So it's having our really valuable fleet stored there is simply not smart.
And during a flood, I mean,
Yeah.
you needed to have access to
Correct.
that equipment immediately.
Right.
And if it's underwater, what do you do?
Right. Exactly.
It's a huge problem.
Yep.
Like I said, I remember when the first conversations came up about doing a DPW building, and it was in the $30 million mark.
Yeah.
And we're getting a huge discount.
Yes.
For certain. $3 million, that's
A tenth.
And a 5 million all in.
$5 million all in.
$5 million
Is
all in.
huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So the DPW building, was it the DPW building in Montpelier? It cost $5 million.
East Montpelier.
So
East Montpelier is borrowing, they're bonding $5 million for a much, much smaller garage. I believe at least a third of the size, at least, or smaller than the one we're acquiring. The one we're planning to acquire is 58,000 square feet. I don't believe East Montpelier is over 20,000 square feet. So in any case, $5 million for a much smaller building. We've done our homework because we're very sensitive to the price, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But we do our homework anyway on whether we're paying a good price. And East Montpelier is paying $5 million for a smaller garage. The town of Milton, Vermont, is building a new garage. We took their cost per square foot, which was $216 per square foot to build their garage. We applied it to what if we built a 40 to 50,000 square foot building, so smaller than what we're buying, right? And that at $216 per square foot comes to $8 to $10 million, right? So all of a sudden you're way out of the range of what we're paying to be all in. We had the city assessors go in and do a formal appraisal. They appraised the current building up there at $3.9 million, right? So we're paying $3 million to buy it. Yeah, we got to put some money in to update it, but that's because we're not going to use it as a warehouse. We're going to use it as a garage, right?
Right.
But the building itself, the bones of the building are, in the city assessor's mind, worth $3.9 million, right? So we are, by every measure we've looked at, it's not just fair, it's a deal. It's a bargain for the city.
it is. I'm super excited about it. We do get a question, and thanks, Chris, for joining us. I don't know what you said before because I had a reload issue on my chat. But you make a comment that says, or maybe the extra traffic on those roads is no concern, which I assume he's asking about the potential of extra traffic on Prospect Street.
Prospect, he says, does that mean Upper Prospect Street, Berlin Street, and Lower Prospect Street would see a significant increase in heavy truck traffic up and down these hills? Are those streets going to be upgraded to handle this increased heavy vehicle traffic?
Yeah, I think there's probably no way around having some increased traffic up that way. And Prospect, Berlin, and Allen Street are on our tentative plans for next year's paving budget. So, so we anticipate doing some upgrades there anyhow.
And when you say next year's, does that mean this
coming,
summer?
yes, I'm sorry, this coming construction season. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Linda Otis says that Prospect Street is already in disrepair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of streets.
Yeah.
And I know you're not here to talk about it,
Yeah.
but might as well talk about it. And I know that every year this is a standard thing where we have
Yeah.
problems with our streets. It's because of the moisture in the ground, pushing it up, down.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you get a pothole, and the pothole just gets bigger and bigger. All those problems usually go away as we round around May.
Yep.
Worst time to budget, to vote on a budget is in March because of the potholes.
Right.
And I'm sure you guys are doing everything
Yeah.
you possibly can to.
Yeah, look, it is frustrating. I live here. I got to drive in these streets. I have the same issues, right? So it's not like we're all blind to it. We see it. There's a couple of things I would say. One is that a lot of the streets that people travel the most are our main thoroughfares, right? So that's 14, 302, or North, South Main, Washington, Maple, right? Those are the main arteries. Those are state roads, right? So the state's supposed to pave those. I think we can all agree that whatever paving happened on Main Street was a real
Wash, yeah.
failure. And so, I understand the frustration there. I felt it. And so those are scheduled to be paved by the state in 2027. I think that's a little, too long to have waited for that. Frankly, I was a little surprised the state decided to pave 62 and 63 because those were in really good shape, and they could have maybe they could have allocated that to some paving in the city. But those are state roads, right? So we're not responsible for paving those, even though we paved the stretch past Cumbies on South Main that was becoming a real danger. We repaved the core downtown, which is everyone remembers had those gullies, right? Those were a safety hazard. We shouldn't have to spend city money to fix those. Those are state highways, and 2027, in my opinion, that was
Too long.
too long,
Too far out.
too long, too far out, and so that's a frustration I certainly share with everyone. I mean, on the other hand, we've also been really aggressive with our paving plans. We've paved Farwell, we've paved Merchant, we've paved Warren, Bank, Cable, Brook, Pleasant, Richardson. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. I have all Center, Beckley, Blackwell. We've done a fair number of streets in the last couple years, and we do as much as our budget will allow us to do. And so if we want to do more, that's a decision we can all make collectively as a community, which means we got to allocate more funding towards it. But I absolutely feel it. I see it. I drive it. And I just hope people keep in mind those two things, that a big part of our roads are not city responsibility, and we have done our fair part to try to keep up and try to catch up where we can.
And having a new public works building certainly would help
Yeah.
with this problem. And Linda Kuchar says, buying the building is a no-brainer, regardless of who owns it. We've needed a new location for years, and locations have been researched, which is true, because
Yeah.
there was been a couple that we researched.
We looked at, before I started, the city had hired an engineering architectural firm to both look at sites and to design a building. They looked at 4 sites. There were 2 on Allen Street. There was one right off of the wastewater treatment plant, which the city owns some land at the end of the wastewater treatment plant. And then they actually looked at the current site, Burnham Street. Burnham Street, they eliminated, it's just too small. And it floods. And there's a landslide behind it. It's not a good place to build a multi-million-dollar building that houses $5 million worth of equipment. We would have to, first of all, we'd have to knock everything down that's there. We'd have to figure out a transition plan for where all that equipment would live for 1 or 2 years while we built something there. We'd have to elevate it several feet to get above base flood elevation, and that's not clean dirt, right? So there is a lot to do on that site if we wanted to do anything, even if it was a decent enough size or didn't have a landslide behind it. So that was out. The site on the wastewater treatment facility, we would have had to build a $7 to $10 million bridge to get to that site before we even started clearing the site or building a building. So not really plausible. One of the Allen Street sites was 20 acres, and 17 of the 20 were wetlands.
Wetlands.
Right, not a really good option. The other Allen Street site, a little bit better, some topographical problems, ledge, they're gonna have to blast a lot there. And that's where the design that they came up with would have been $30 million with, working on that site. Not really affordable, right? No. So here we are now with this solution right at our fingertips of $5 million. After we've done some, we're not settling here. We have, this is really the only shot we got to address this problem. Mm-hmm. We have turned over every leaf. I mentioned the 4 sites. I should add that, with Public Works Director Brian Baker, we've kicked around everything. We said, should we turn the BOR into the Public Works Garage?
Yep.
We looked at it.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
And it's not really practical, right? Yep. And so we even came back to the Burnham Street site before we flooded on July 2023. The morning of the flood, Brian was meeting with the foreman because we had gone to do a road trip to look at the Newport garage and the Montpelier garage, and we had a really nice idea of how we could maybe make that site work. They were working on that in the morning. They were trying to see, looking at some maps, and we flooded, and mm-hmm. that so there goes that, right? Like we decided this is a sign we really should not be building here. Mm-hmm. So Morrison Road is really our shot here. And for $5 million, I think it's an impeccable solution for us. It does it affordably. It's a building that's in great shape. We're not going to have the accumulated maintenance. Once we do our upgrades, we can just move in.
Yeah.
The pluses far outweigh the
Yes.
cons here, and especially when you talk about people and the people that are working there and employee retention. And
Yeah.
what would I expect when I come into work? A place that I could sit and have my lunch, use the bathroom and know that it was a safe place to be and I was going to be warm and water not leaking on my head. And, that as well as the piece of protecting the equipment and stuff, to be able to provide a safe working environment and is huge.
Absolutely, and I know, Michael, we've done tours last year with some delegations from the state senate. I mean,
Yep.
it's a little hard to show that as where we send our workers to work every day. I think I really believe it's a black mark on the city.
That's embarrassing.
It is, and people snicker about it. People take pictures because they take pictures in the way you take pictures about something that is just so bad that you can't believe it. And so I think even from a perspective of pride, it's just we should have pride in our government, and that is certainly an area where it's very difficult to have any pride. And here we have, again, we have a way out, mm-hmm. which is the really nice positive thing about it.
Yeah. And that particular location, and you're probably not going to be able to say anything about it, I'm sure, but I know that particular plot of land has been in the crosshairs of some people next to you down there, which means that there's a potential that it could get sold.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
and I'm happy to address. I mean, I think that we would absolutely list it. And I know there's been some interest expressed to me. What we would do is what we do with anything, which is we list it on the open market, we get a realtor, mm-hmm. and the council considers all the offers we get, and we take whatever one the council chooses to, right? So we would list it. The only thing we would do is we would keep a very small footprint to house our bobcats and our sidewalk plows, mm-hmm. right? So we don't want to be driving the bobcats and the sidewalk plows, which down the hill, right? That's just not practical. So they mostly plow sidewalks down here, in the core downtown and off of that. So why drive it from Prospect Street when we can have a small shed with that, right? And so we would keep a very small shed. Everything else moves up to Morrison Road.
That's a good idea.
And we sell the land, and somebody can make better use of it, and we get tax revenue out of it.
Yep.
So I think it's a win-win in that sense.
Absolutely. So let's talk about tax.
Yeah.
How much?
The taxes are $53,000 this year. So
is
we
that
have
including education?
Yes, that's both education and municipal. So we state law says we have to pay taxes on it, and that's what the law says. That's what we'll do. I think that. Do I wish we weren't paying taxes on it? Yeah, of course, right? I don't want to have higher expenses than I need to, but we spend 500 gallons a week to fuel it, right? It's that we're going to have efficiencies just from moving up there, not having to burn fuel to keep the building at a comfortable temperature, right? We're going to have the life of our equipment is going to be extended. Our plows, as I said, live outside. They're going to be parked right in front of where the trucks are parked every day. We have storage that is just out in the open in the elements, right? The useful life of that, it's of course impacted, right? So
Yep.
just from the useful life of our equipment, just from the savings in not having to heat the outdoors, are we going to offset the full 50? Probably not.
good chunk,
A
though.
good chunk of it. Here's some other options. If anyone has a knock on the building, it's probably a little bit bigger than we need, and I'm very very upfront about it. But that's okay because we can lease some of that space, right? V-Trans needs some space to store something. Give us a call. Barre Town Public Works, I believe their garage is over by Wilson Industrial Park. You need to, you're doing a project on this side of town. You need to store something. That's fine. We're here to be partners. And so if I think that we have to pay the taxes. That's what the law says. I wish it was different, but I'm also not torn up about it because I know that we have ways we can try to recoup that and mitigate it somewhat.
Yeah. No, that's great.
No matter what, you're still saving 25 million. So
Yeah.
even if in the end,
True.
because laws could change, things could change, in the end, if you're only saving 50 million instead of 25 million, because you've been paying those taxes, it's still way worth it no matter
Yeah.
what.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Joe Edson says, buy the damn building.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the way Joe thinks.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. I'm super excited about this. Thank you for coming in and talking about it. While we got you here, can we talk about the budget a little bit?
Yeah.
That you're like in preliminary stages, because you don't have to vote on it until May.
I know. I'm very
Are you
happy
excited
about that.
about that?
I'm very happy about
Very
that.
happy. You're welcome.
Thank you,
You're
Michael.
welcome.
Leading the charge.
Yes, leading the charge, charging the gates of hell with the pistol.
Yes.
The
yes.
water
Right.
gun pistol. No, Linda's asking if the council has voted. They have
Tomorrow.
not voted yet.
On this building?
Yeah.
The vote is tomorrow. And I think we should, if I might just talk a little bit about the other elephant in the room, right, which is the current owner of the building up there is Tom Lozon, right, who's
Yeah.
the mayor. And I understand why people might have pause about the city buying a building from, an elected official. But I would just like to address a couple of things. Number one, we've done everything above board, beyond reproach. Tom has not been involved in any executive session. He doesn't know what I'm telling the council, how I sold this to the council, when I was, he doesn't know any of that, right? So he's seeing my presentation for the first time when it posted on the agenda, right? So that's number one. In fact, I'll mention this, that Tom called me because those who follow the council regularly might remember we had a special meeting just for real estate a couple weeks ago before the regular meeting. Tom called me and said, "What's that about?" I'm like, that's
Can't talk.
Can't
tell
talk to you
ya.
about it. Yeah.
So he didn't know that was scheduled, right? So I just want people to know that that's one thing. Second of all, I talked about this, but we do our due diligence on anything we buy anyway, but we did super exhaustive, independent validation of the purchase price, $3 million. So city assessors appraised it at 3.9. There you go. That's one. And these are not, they're you might say, well, they work for you. They're licensed. They have professional standards. They can't just make up a number. So this is a very legitimate, document. It's on their professional certification that they're giving us this estimate. East Montpelier, we mentioned $5 million for a smaller garage, and Milton, Vermont, right? So at their cost per square foot, 8 to 10 million. So those, I think people should know those things. That we didn't even want the appearance of a conflict of interest. on this, and when this was being negotiated and talked about, it was me talking to Tom, me representing the city council, and then it was me talking to city council. There was never, there was never any line
An
crossed where
all-in.
Tom was talking to city council. I will also add, we approached Tom, and that's very important. Tom didn't say, "Hey, I got a building I want to sell to you." No, this was Nicholas and Brian Baker, Public Works Director, saying, "We are out of ideas. We have nowhere else to turn. We know this building's up there. Let's go see if we can engage on it." We said we want to kick the tires on it. Thankfully, Tom didn't slam the door in our face, and so we were able to do that. And so I think there's those three things people should keep in mind. And I understand the optics of it. I understand some people will never accept it, but I think that the facts bear out that this was above board, and I'm very comfortable defending how we went about doing this to make sure that people can be comfortable that this is a fair deal for the city of Barre.
Yeah. I'm gonna read that, what Linda just
Yes,
posted.
please.
I think it's a great post. Linda says, some people don't like Tom. Tom has done a lot for the city. People are jealous because he has funding and backing to purchase property. And that's actually true.
And he's purchased a lot of
He has
property
purchased
and
a lot of
funded a
crappy
lot of
property.
property for city purposes.
Yeah.
People's Health and Wellness is a perfect
Yep.
example of somebody who he said, I'll back you up and put you in here and let's do this. And he's a good, maybe the mayor right now, but he's always been a very good community partner.
That in every building he buys, I can guarantee you it's not sitting there for 13 years empty. He works and gets them corrected. He just purchased, I think he just purchased the old Ormsby's building, correct? Pretty sure he did.
Not
So my guess is just wait, that'll probably be filled shortly as well. But yeah, no, it's frustrating. That's frustrating.
Yeah, but
There's but have you got the purchase and sales agreement yet or no?
It's in the packet. Yeah,
It's in the packet. That's
yeah.
right. It has to be signed
Yeah.
by.
Yeah, and I just want, I think people should know that that certainly they can, they might have looked at it and read it in the paper and had, oh geez, but this process has been, it's very important to everybody. It was important to Tom, it was important to me, it was important to the council, because in some ways everyone's reputation's on the line on that. And so we all have an interest in making sure that we can defend this process and feel comfortable about this process. And I know I certainly do. I think I just wanted people to know that it's I know who the owner is, and we went above and beyond to make sure that people can feel comfortable about the process we took to get to this point, and to try to solve.
And
this
you're
problem.
always open to question. It's
Yeah.
not like your office is closed and you wouldn't take a call about like having a conversation to
absolutely.
explain. Or, you're here tonight, and you
Absolutely.
certainly have been very open, and I believe anybody would about the situation.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that because a lot of people when something happens they're like, oh, it just came out of the blue. All of a sudden, wicked fast.
That's
How
so
long has
crazy
this
to
been
me.
in the works and in the stew?
I mean, I started doing tours with individual council members in July
Of last year?
of last year.
But how long have you been thinking about
Oh,
it?
we've since the day I started. I mean, it's something that we don't
Not
start
that
brainstorming.
specific building, though.
No, not that specific building. I'm sorry. That specific building, probably early 2024, we started thinking about is this feasible? Is this feasible? And then talking to Tom, and then that led to a tours with individual council members at the site, not just at Burnham Street and then at Morrison Road, right? To show this is what we have, this is what we could have, and then then getting really into it in the fall of 2024 in terms of starting to negotiate terms and all that stuff, right? So, and starting to get estimates, right? So this is something that has been percolating for a while, and I think, look, I think both parties deserve a lot of credit, right? So Tom deserves credit for because he has to know, right, that he's going to take some flack for this no matter what, right? He's
He
going to
has
be on
said
the
that.
receiving end of it. He mentioned it in the paper, right? So for him to not, to, like I said, not slam the door on me and Brian's face, right? Because he very well could have probably sold that building for much more to somebody else who wouldn't lead him to these,
Yeah.
sort of personal attacks. So for him to engage, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think the council too for being open to this, out of the box idea that may make people uncomfortable. Number one, because it's not in the city. Number two, because it's owned by the mayor. And for the council to also not, say, Nicholas and Brian, absolutely not, go somewhere, start over, right? So I think both parties had to, find a level of comfort in doing this, because it's probably a little bit difficult for both sides. And if both sides hadn't been willing to, try to make this happen, we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome. And I really appreciate the work that you've been doing on it. And I hope that tomorrow night you get a unanimous vote. And I hope in 2 years from now,
Yeah.
you'll be able to give me a tour of that building.
Yeah,
Yeah. Same.
absolutely.
Same. Looking
Maybe
forward to it.
as a city councilor, who knows? Oh, Nicholas is like, no, that's okay. So let's shift gears and go into the budget.
Yeah.
So you did present your preliminary budget numbers.
Yeah,
So we're
very preliminary.
Very
Yeah.
preliminary. We're looking at 6-7% or 5-6.
Well, that's the number. Yeah, that's the number the council told us to target. We have about $1 million gap between our planned revenues and our planned expenses, and so the council said, very broadly, shoot for 5 to 6. So that means finding about, and the $1 million. So people, I think people can mostly connect the dots. But last year we got $1 million from the state legislature. And that's basically our gap right now. Like that gave us a huge lifeline. We're, and that helped us out of a jam last year. This year we're making a push for a little bit, a smaller size of assistance from the state, but something to, again, give us a glide path. We can't really dig out of this all in 1 year. And that's what we were saying last year when we were asking for the money, which is, don't forget us. We appreciate this $1 million. The help is going to need to be over some time.
Continual,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the gap is really driven by losing that $1 million. If we want to get to 5 to 6%, we have to find about $550,000 worth of either savings or revenues, right? So a cut helps us eat away at that, or a new revenue, right? Because then you don't have to raise those taxes. So that's not easy, right? So we're asking for about $200,000 from the state. So if we're lucky, if we're successful with that, that immediately cuts down what we need to find to about $350,000 to hit that target. It's hard, there's not a lot of fat in our budget. We've done a really good job of I know people say this at every level of government. I know they do. It just happens to be true when I'm telling you, we go line by line. We do. And that's no exaggeration. I lock all the department heads in Alumni Hall, and we do not leave until we've gone line by line over the budget. And we're doing re-estimates, right? So for example, if probably this year won't be a good year for that, but if last couple of years we didn't spend as much on salt, so we can maybe shave a little bit off of what we're budgeting for salt. This year we might not be able to because there's some shortages, but that's an example, right? Michael, this one's going to hurt, but when we sold the Wheelock building, we were able to cut the utilities, right? We don't own that building anymore. That's not an expense. So that's the kind of, this is not a knock on Steve McKenzie,
Right.
but we
it's a
cut the
give and
shredding
take.
budget. Yeah, we cut the shredding budget because I don't keep as much paper as Steve, right? It's not a knock on Steve. It's just that's just to give you an example of how in depth we go line by line. So if we keep to that target and we get $200,000 from the state, we're looking at finding the balance of $350,000 in savings or in revenues. Last year we found about $90,000 in new revenues. That was from a series. We got some more pilot payments from the state, so that was helpful. That worked out for us. We increased some fees modestly. We didn't do anything really outlandish, I don't think. We have the turf now, so that was new revenue. So we accounted for that. And so this year, we have the Cozy Trust, and maybe some of the interest earned on that will help us offset some property tax, so maybe that's a place to go. So we have our places where we can go try to find the money. We have a list of cuts that we proposed last year that we didn't have to make, right, because we got the $1 million. So maybe we go back to those. But yeah, we're at the very beginning of the process. Tomorrow night we'll be doing a little bit more, trying to hone in on this target. Then we'll go with the department heads into the budget congress, we call it. And then the meetings after that, we'll have a little bit more, we'll have the line by line for people to look at. And then that's basically what we'll be doing until April 8th when we have to warn it. So.
And one of the things that I like to bring up to folks as we talk about the budget for Barre City, and oftentimes the first thing that people say is that we're taxed immensely, right? But the thing that folks don't understand, and I try to get across, is that we have a full service municipality on a postage stamp, 4 square miles.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Nicholas, have you ever seen a 4 square mile municipality with full fire, full police,
I can't think of one.
DPW? Even Montpelier,
Yeah.
it's similar in size
Yeah.
for people, and it has a few more big buildings, but those big buildings are not really, they're state buildings.
Yeah.
And their budget is $20 million.
Yeah.
And they don't have, frankly, they don't have the socioeconomic issues
Right.
that Barre City has.
Right.
And I just wanted to throw that one to you because
Yeah.
it's certainly something that I don't think people really appreciate.
It's tough, and we don't, our budgets are lean. I think people should know that we have a lot of people who wear multiple hats in Barre City. That is not the case in many other municipalities of our size, even Montpelier, right? I think if we even make that comparison, so the 4 square miles certainly doesn't help, and it limits our ability to have a wider, diverse base. It limits the ability of where we can build. And I hate to get negative, but it's going to become tougher. We have about 30 properties that have been approved for buyouts, and about 20 of them have been signed off by FEMA. 10 more are probably coming, and that's going to be a couple $100,000 of tax revenue that's forever lost.
Forever
right?
gone.
So I think, I hate to be a downer, but we have some tough budgets ahead of us, and we were already, I think, underfunded for what people expect out of their government, right? And I think what's really painful is that when we go to these, conversations about cuts, we have to go to things that a lot of people really care about, and that's things like the bulk waste event, things like the yard waste. I think this year was the first year we used the Berrytown yard waste site for the full year, which was terrific. Those are the kinds of things, unfortunately, we have the most flexibility to cut because they're not mandated. We, 95%, 90% of our workforce is unionized, right? So they have, those are contracts that, again, we negotiate them, right? So we have ownership of what those costs are, but we have a double-edged sword, right? If we negotiate too hard and we don't have appropriate wage increases built in, we're going to lose staff.
Right.
They're going to go to Montpelier. They're going to go to other towns, right? They're going to go to the private sector. If you have a CDL, you're a hot commodity right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So I understand. Yeah, we have unionized staff, and I get it. People say, well, you negotiate those contracts. Like, yeah, absolutely. And we're doing it both to stay competitive and to keep costs down. Health costs are going up almost 20% again. Again, they went up 20% last year, and I think people would feel a lot better. Certainly, I would feel a lot better paying that if I knew I could call a doctor and get an appointment in a week.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know about you all, but I got COVID a year ago. I called my doctor. I still haven't gotten a call back. I could be lying on my bedroom floor right now. They wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things. Those are things that we just can't touch, right? Because they're mandated, and so we end up going to the things like the bulky waste and the yard waste. I know last year I proposed, which was people got worked up about, was not hiring the full cemetery seasonal staff, right? And my thinking was, that's something we have a little bit of flexibility on. We could have the facility staff mow, and maybe we don't need the full cemetery staff. But they're all difficult, painful decisions. And I wish there was a time when we could get into the budget Congress and instead of saying, hey, what do you want to cut? It's like, hey, what should we invest in this year? Right? Because those are, we're not having those conversations as much as I wish we could.
It's pretty tough. And you mentioned the buyouts.
Yeah.
Might behoove the council to consider doing a resolution and send it to the current president and ask him to consider, instead of doing buyouts that take them off the municipal rolls, just help the people out.
Yeah.
And do it that way. You might find that considering what's happened down in North Carolina, maybe he would.
You might do it through Truth Social. We could get policy right away.
We could. It's not a bad idea. You laugh, but I mean, it's not a bad idea.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. But yeah, the buyouts definitely are a huge problem.
Yeah.
I think that, and not for those that are wanting the buyout.
Right.
It's really
understandable.
important for them, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard decision for the municipality because it pits
Yes.
the municipality against the homeowner.
And that's another, you mentioned 4 square miles. If we were a bigger municipality, it'd be easier, right? If we knew we had room to grow, but we don't. We don't have room to grow.
Yeah, we're blocked in.
And I think I've had a lot of really difficult conversations with those homeowners by, saying things to the effect of, I get it. Maybe your property's not the safest property to be on this parcel, but a different property could be built here that would be, right? And that's a terrible thing to have to say to someone, especially, in the North End where for a lot of those people, that's their biggest asset, right? And that's, but forever's a long time. That's what it comes down to. And if we didn't have that FEMA rule, I would have had no hesitation going to the city council and saying, approve all of these, because there's no reason to keep somebody in a house that they don't feel safe in, that they've lost, that they've gotten through trauma in. So yeah, it's FEMA could solve this. Well, I don't know if FEMA could solve it. Congress, somebody could solve this. I think fairly quickly. I mean, what we've told FEMA when they've done visits here is, I would accept a condition where if we redeveloped a lot that was bought out with FEMA money, we would never accept FEMA money for that parcel ever. But that puts the onus on us to build to flood hazard regulations.
Right.
Look what happened. Look at City Place over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They got nothing. Maybe some moisture in the basement, but that's because they're built to flood standards, right? So what we've said to them is like, just I would take that deal. Let us redevelop. Put the onus on us to do it right, and you are off the hook on that lot forever.
I just want you to know my TIF that I submitted for a bill
Yeah.
would allow you to do that.
Well, I'll send a
hell.
letter in support.
Yeah.
It's dead on the wall. That's what I've been told.
Of course. Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah. So, no, I really appreciate you giving us a little bit of a little light into the budget.
Yeah, happy
pretty.
It's our most important document. It's the most important thing we do every year.
Yep.
And thanks for muscling through and just keeping at it despite, the rhetoric here and there that you have to deal with and cope with. And you've been doing this for a long time in much different situation than here.
I'll tell you though, it's harder in the small town than it was in New York City.
Yeah.
Of course it is. You see all the faces on a daily, pretty
You see
much.
them at the restaurant, you see them at the store, you see them
Everybody-
at the coffee shop.
Yep.
Everybody knows
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
and everybody here talks to
And
everybody.
everybody
That was
thinks
one of my
they know
questions.
everything.
Do you remember?
I do.
You remember that question? Yeah.
How did I answer it well?
I think you tried your best.
Thank you.
Well,
You did pretty well. I think
It's-
that was my question. I think it was, if you're going to fire Johnny and Johnny's cousin is,
Yeah.
this person.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle that?
Yeah.
How have you handled that so far?
It's been with a good HR person by my side.
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Gene
It's not for the faint of heart,
Jeans-
for sure.
Galliano.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, she's new.
She's brand new. I don't know her.
She's fantastic. She's
Nice.
She's terrific.
Good. So I won't force you to stick around. I'm
We
probably
gotta
going to
go
talk.
read. We're reading Harry Potter tonight, so I
You're
can't.
going to. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you go and read Harry Potter, and then
Enjoy.
once you leave, we'll start talking about the Quality Inn.
All right. Well, I better leave then. I am leaving.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a good
Nicholas.
night.
Thank you,
too.
Nicholas, for
Appreciate
coming, and we really appreciate you coming down here.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, sir.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
So we're going to shift gears a little bit after we let poor Nicholas leave, not have to deal with the next comment, which is going to be that Quality Inn deal, man. What do you think about that, Raylene? Have you so frustrating. It frustrates me because it's like, so for folks that don't know, Downstreet purchased the Quality Inn, and now they're going to do a pilot, and I guess the pilot's like $19,000, and pilot, it means payment in lieu of taxes, with an increase of 2% annually. So it's going up, not at the inflation rate, but it's going up, and I get really frustrated with Downstreet because I feel like they do this for every property. It's like, yeah, we're going to pay taxes, or not.
And I think my frustration with them, with Downstreet, has just been the speed at which they progress when they buy something and they're going to build it, or create apartments, or do this or do that. It just seems like it's a long time before some things come to fruition, and that's where I get a little bit frustrated with the whole process. Even though I understand there's lots of loopholes and hoops to jump through, but and then this, the taxes and the hurry up and wait a minute kind of
Taxes
thing
thing is
too.
the only thing that irritates me.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, don't get me wrong. I will say this about Downstreet: they run a tight ship with the people that they have in their apartments.
Yes,
it's
that they
not
do.
it's not like Barre Housing
And
Authority.
they do educate as well.
Yes.
I know several people, they take the time to educate their tenants, to work with their tenants to, consider home buying and saving money, and working on how are you going to save that money, and finance classes and different. So they absolutely are a very amazing program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to own the Quality Inn shortly, so they'll be turning that into some lower income housing for people that are on the edge. Not on the edge, but people that are struggling with housing.
Right.
So,
And-
which is
and
going to be good.
I really much rather see it be constructed and set up that way than families with children trying to cram themselves into one room with a microwave.
Yeah.
So that part of it, I'm very grateful for and happy about. That opportunity is going to
Just
exist.
wish they would pay full taxes.
Right. Well, eventually they will.
Eventually.
Right.
One of these days.
20, 30 years.
2030. Or maybe next year after someone files a bill. I don't know. No.
We don't know. We don't know.
Never know. So you did a couple interviews.
I have done
You've
some
done a couple interviews.
I
Congratulations.
have done some, and I have some more coming up. So far I have interviewed Sarah Hellman, Jackie Wheeler, and today I interviewed Ian Campbell. So Sarah is running for the Barre City board seat, and Jackie Wheeler is running for the at-large, and Ian Campbell is running for the Barre Town ward seat. On Wednesday, I will be interviewing at 11 o'clock Jeff Eddy, who is the Barre City candidate. And in the evening, at 7, I will be interviewing Terry Rail on Thursday evening. On Wednesday evening, sorry. So Jeff and Eddie both. And Terry is the candidate for the Barrytown seat that is open. So, so far, everyone that is running for a board seat has agreed to do an interview, with the exception of Nancy Leclerc. So, and I understand in some ways. I mean, you know, she was worried about the impartiality part of it, and in some ways I understand, but in some ways I don't, because I gave everybody the same opportunity, and that was that they could have whoever they wanted to interview them. So another colleague, anybody could have interviewed, and I would have just sat behind the desk and ran the computer and let them get their information out there. And I think it's crucial that people do that. There are, you know, you can say, well, I use Front Porch Forum, or I use the World, or Times Argus. I think you should use as many platforms as you possibly can, especially in today's political climate. I know that at one point I was banned from Front Porch Forum, and I would rarely participate in it anyways, because it's really not a view that I share, and for the most part. But a lot of people do. And so those people that do would be, if they don't listen to 802 Scoop, which the majority of, you know, or a lot of people that probably are Front Porch Farm probably aren't 802 Scoop, right? Some are, but probably a lot aren't. So it just gives you, it fills in a gap that you otherwise may not be able to. And it's expensive to do mailers, and just the postage alone for the mailers and the postcards and the, you know, and who wants to slop around neighborhoods that are full of ice and snow right now to knock on doors. And some people don't like door knocking. You know, I don't want to spend 30, 40 minutes on a Saturday when I'm trying to get my housework done so I can get to the grocery store. I don't want to spend that time talking with a candidate. I just don't. And maybe that's just me. And I certainly don't want to do it when I've just got home from work and I'm trying to get dinner and, you know, kids situated for homework and bed and sports or whatever. I just feel like people don't have time for that like they used to. Like everything else, times have changed greatly, and the models and makeup of families and time, and it's just not there. And so I really think that you need to take every single opportunity you possibly can to share your information.
And I did post the links to the different interviews for folks to take a look at, the ones that have been done for Sarah, Jackie, and Ian.
Thank you.
I didn't have, I don't have obviously the links for the ones that haven't been on yet.
Right.
So,
But if you
make
tune
sure
into 802 Scoop on Wednesday at 11, or, you know, and these interviews stay on Facebook and YouTube for forever. So if you don't catch it because it's during the day, you go back and watch it at your convenience, and make sure that you comment or send a direct message to the candidate with a question. But if you comment, they will reply to you, or at least they should, because I certainly beat that home to them that they're going to need to keep track of the interview, because questions may follow.
Linda says she doesn't answer the door. If they leave info, I do read it. I know you answered the door because I went up there and you answered the door. I'm just saying.
Well, she just made an exception for you.
I think I gave her a heads up that I was coming.
Oh.
Or
yeah.
you gave her a heads up.
Yeah, I think I did, actually.
I think I ended up sitting on her porch and chatting with her for a little while.
Yeah.
So there.
She didn't know. She opened the door, but she didn't let you in.
No, she didn't let me in. No.
So yeah, I hope that people
and
listen.
Linda, I agree with you. I see people come to my door. I see it on the She she said she was on her deck, so she knew I was coming. But I'm the same way. I'll be honest with you, people. I have cameras all over my house, so
too.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So I see people coming, and I don't answer the door.
No. No. You know who we have that same census lady is back at us again this year. She's bound and determined, and she comes several times a week, and and I don't have a problem with giving her information, the information that I feel comfortable giving her. And we've done that several times, and we've told her we will give you no more than what we've given you. You know, the personal stuff that they ask, your vaccination status, flu shots, COVID shots, you know, retirement. Do you have retirement accounts? Different health insurance questions. You know, yes, were you a graduate? Did you go to college? You know, how many years were you in the workforce? Who lives in the home, and what are their ages? Those things I'm totally willing to answer, and fine. That, to me, that's what a census is, right? No, they want to know so much personal information. And I told her, I don't care if you come back and knock on this door a million times, you will never get all of the information you're asking for. This is what I'm giving you, and nothing more. And she's determined.
I feel like that's not okay.
No, I really have gotten to the point where I feel like it's harassment more than anything. And I've said that to her, and I have filed a complaint because the Census Bureau also sends you the stuff in the mail. And so they send you the stuff in the mail with an 800 number. You can call and do the interview that way if you don't want the person to come to your house. But they want the same information, and if you don't give it to them, they're also just as, you know, back at you kind of thing. They just don't let up. They really want to get a little too personal as far as I'm concerned.
Judy's asking me where my pup is tonight. She is on the porch. I just checked. She's not outside. She's allowed to go into my house. She's got a little doggy door. But what she does is she just stays out on the porch.
Yeah, she can go in and out.
Yep.
She's probably happy to be out there, though. I mean, she's got a lot of hair, and German Shepherd. It's not like your porch is wide open. Either. Your porch is closed in and roof over it and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's a nice little. She's got a little pad out there that she can. She sleeps on, waiting for me to come home.
yeah.
But she can go into the house, for the record. She's got a doggy door. I had it installed so that she could, well, it was Raven at the time, so that she could go in and out.
In and out. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could talk about the budget real quick. I'm going to pitch the budget, so I'm just going to say I hope folks vote for the BUUSD budget. It was a compromise. No, she's not, well, she was sick yesterday. Judy was concerned that Leah was sick.
Yes, because
she was a little sick yesterday, but she seems like she's on the mend.
good.
Hopefully for long. She has a weird stomach. But so the BUUSD budget, that's next Tuesday. You get to vote on that along with the candidates, which there's 6 candidates available. Highly recommend that you watch the interviews and make a decision based on that. And I, like I said, I already posted 3 of them. The budget is a compromise budget, and I can't express that enough for folks. If you go back and watch the school board meetings where people started and where we ended, we were like at a 7%, and we brought it down because there was people on there was people that wanted to go like 11, 10, but there was
crazy.
It was a little elevated. And then there were people that were at 4%, and we came at a pretty good medium, which is a 4.95%.
I'd say that's a really good medium.
Yeah. It
That's
is.
not even, yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Ooh. So Linda says that she called for absentee ballots and have not received them. I would give Cheryl an email. I would email her. I sent an email to her today asking for my ballot, my mom's ballot, and two friends' ballots. So probably, yeah. So we'll probably get those sometime this week, I
You
would
hope,
imagine.
because the postal, I mean, right now, I'm only getting mail once, if we're lucky, twice per week.
Everybody's saying
It
that. I
has
get mail
been-
every single
It
day.
has been horrible. We literally, and then we get so much in our box at one time, and some of it belongs to us, and some of it doesn't. It's and I'm not, I know that these postal workers are right out straight. A lot of them are doing 2 and 3 different routes because of staffing and stuff too. But good gracious, it's awful. And if I was doing absentee, I would definitely make sure that I dropped it off, brought it back to the town clerk. At this point, at this stage in the game, there's no way I would try to mail it back, even within Barre City. I have a sponsor, well, Vermont Quick Loop, who just submitted payment to me. And it took 16 days from the time it was mailed and postmarked in South Barre to get to me
That is so
in
weird.
Barre City. 16 days.
Clockwork, 10 o'clock, my mailman is at my place.
Yeah. not-
Clockwork. I mean,
You're
I
one of the
can,
very lucky ones.
yeah, I mean, apparently our mailman is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
He like zooms right in. And
Yeah,
It's-
it's been tough. And like I said, I don't say that against the postal workers, because I know a couple of them who are doing their route
Yeah.
plus somebody else's, or maybe even 2 other people's routes.
Do you have a mailbox
Right
that's
at the end
on
of
the
the
road?
driveway.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So it's not attached to the house.
no, no.
Huh. Because I was just wondering if maybe the reason why it isn't being delivered is because it's,
Oh no, everybody in my neighborhood has the same problem. We just know that the mail's going to come 1 to 2 times per week. That's kind of like what we've been doing since before Christmas.
interesting.
So,
Well,
yeah.
hopefully that doesn't happen to me. I'm very happy with the mail delivery system
Yeah.
in my neighborhood. But yeah, so
Well, hopefully, like I said, even if you're doing it, I would strongly consider dropping them back off.
Yeah.
And not mailing them in,
absolutely don't want to mess that up.
for sure. Voting on March 4th is, as always, at the auditorium in Barre City from 7 to 7. And I was told, and I'm not sure, I should have asked Nicholas actually, but
It
that
is.
the voting will
Yep.
be in the basement as
Correct.
opposed to being up in the gym. But it's still at the auditorium from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And for the city and in the town, you can go to the elementary school from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And both the city and the town have a drop box behind the clerk's office
Yep.
for
But
ballots.
do not use the drop box on Tuesday because it will not be picked up.
Correct. Yeah. On voting day. Yes.
Yep.
Do not do that. So,
All right.
yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, goodness. Well, there's all kinds of things, always, I just feel like with the whole building thing, I'm always just blown away by the discourse and how angry people get and how misinformed so many people are, and how many people who don't even live here, they're out of state, or they've moved away from here years ago and haven't been back, or even if they do live here, the opinions that they have with no information. I've never seen them participate in any sort of council meeting, or, so you develop a opinion from all the rumors that you've ever heard. and then that's not educated. That's not an educated statement. That's not. That's just spewing bullshit, and it just gets super annoying, and it's so hard for me especially to not argue about it because I go into defense mode, and especially when it comes to, I think, the city and some of the people in it. I mean, there are certainly people that, but people that are just trying to do good and do a job, to have claws come out and the shit that comes out of some people's mouths just blows my mind. It blows my mind. And the majority of the time, it's this victim mentality. Like, just stop being the victim in everything, and accept that there are some really good things happening around here if we allow them. And that could make a really significant difference in the city and our environment and in what we're doing. And like in the road stuff, I'm so over with it. I want to say, dig it down to dirt and put the grader out there. Can you imagine how much people be complaining about the dust and the this and the that? There's a reason that the roads got paved, but now, keeping up with them isn't always easy. And we have DPW crew who is working under shit conditions, and we want them to continue doing that, but keep up with the work. And we've dealt with some pretty significant, weather events over the last 3 years that have also plagued the city and caused. I mean, you got to sidestep on a plowing project or a paving project when you have 2 streets that were pretty much wiped out and needs help big time, and do all that without raising the budget, please. I commend Nicholas, the mayor, the councilors. Like, I commend all of them to be able to have shoulders broad enough to deal with some of this bullshit, because I don't know. I don't know that I could. Yeah, not without my claws coming out. We all saw that on Friday from me. Well, I didn't publicly, verbally in here yet, but it's all still very young in the process. And yeah.
Linda says, how many times have I said, turn them all back to dirt and see how people like it?
Yeah, for real.
We certainly wouldn't like
You
it.
get the grader out and they smooth it out, and then you go again. And then you have all these streets and in the winter months that the buses can't travel on because they remain glare ice, and you can't be salting those. Like, you can put sand down, but you can't be, doing what you do now to treat roads. And so then you're closing school and making parents stay home and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, seriously, that's what I would do. I would start ripping roads right down to dirt and say, there, hush it. Because that stuff that you put on the road to keep the dust down is probably far cheaper, and running a grader is probably far cheaper than what we're doing right now.
Note to self, don't vote for Raylene for mayor of Barre City or whatever.
I would never run anyway.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody for watching. You have any final comments?
No, just tune in. If you haven't watched the interviews for the board candidates that have already taken place, watch them, ask questions, and tune in on Wednesday night and Wednesday morning for the final 2.
All right.
And get out and vote.
Get out and vote. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching the Barre Beat podcast live from Inside Scoops.
Can I say one more thing?
Well,
Sorry.
I'm
sorry.
I suppose you can.
Tomorrow,
Yes.
I will be, it's no secret, I will have special guests in here, Kate and Hunter from the Phoenix program. And the Phoenix program is a fitness program for people struggling with substance use. And they rent some space or are given space to share out back at 23 Summer Street in the well space. That's where they have the program. But they will be here with me tomorrow at noon. So tune in for that as well. We're busy this week.
We are busy.
Yeah.
We definitely are. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful evening and stay out of trouble.